well.
Yeah, what you have to do right now to go and do it. I'll show you a couple of pictures up here, but before that, this guillotine down.
This is a nice whiteboard here.
It's just, this is our professional learning room.
Right.
So, and it kind of, that's more the staff room, this is the learning station for teachers. And we meet here at 7:35 on a Tuesday morning. We don't have any after school staff meetings because we feel actually if you want the teachers to work together and collaborate and plan and design learning and things, you actually got to free them up to have time to do that. And so if we clog the afternoons up with a whole bunch of meetings, that's just not going to happen. I'll show you a couple of bits on here that might be of interest.
I haven't been here before, have I? Been at the restaurant, been at the cafe before, but I haven't been to
the cafe.
I haven't seen this.
This is great.
This is
a show.
This is something that's this is our sort of third rock, I suppose, the Making Meaning rock. And we've got copies of all this stuff, Steve, so
oh, okay.
I can give you copies of any of this stuff.
Great.
So don't worry about it. And essentially this is it's based on solo taxonomy, which is the taxonomy that underpins the ASTIL and the one that underpins the NCEAs and high school exams.
NCEA is the National Certificate of Education here, which is an rather than having a sort of standardised testing and something, that's when you can choose your own specialty, very much so.
Oh, nice.
That has replaced what the Americans would describe as your SAT scores,
right?
Your standardised testing.
Right.
So this is a process so that so the kids have got a problem to solve or something they need to learn about, then they can actually utilise this. And so it goes through 3 stages of building knowledge, making meaning, and applying understanding. And essentially saying, when you're in that finding out stage, that's sort of the build knowledge. Your making meaning is kind of really where your critical thinking goes on, and so that block is substantially bigger than the others because actually that's where you need to spend substantially more time in that sort of critical thinking and analysing and comparing, contrasting, and sorting and grouping and things. And then the application of the understanding, which may be creating something, it might be actually coming out with a physical thing or have written something, but equally it might be to be able to make a generalisation or a justification or a decision on something based on a learning process that you've been through.
So our traditional schools are making the green the major part.
I think in the past what we've probably been a bit guilty of is jumping from the green to the blue.
Right.
It's actually saying, right, here's all my information and now I'm presenting it to you, or now I'm making it.
Right.
And I think that the area we need to spend most time on is that making meaning. So take, for example, if kids are reading a text or something with the teacher as part of a reading rotation, it may well be that it's appropriate for the text to be used at that build knowledge stage, and then for the kids to go and do some sort of follow-up kind of work. But often it's just as appropriate for the kids to have read the text before they come down to work with the teacher, in which case then the teacher can actually start working on that critical thinking and that making meaning stuff before they move on.
So this is the flipped classroom where you're doing some of that building knowledge at home, right?
And this is applicable to our professional teachers inquiry model as well. And this is just a bit of a first iteration. We've used a lot of the work that's come out of Albany Senior High School as a starting point. But essentially it's saying, well, from a teaching point of view, what should I be focusing on? What's the crisis, if you like, in terms of learning or achievement or the needs of the kids right now, so that the teachers are actually setting their own goals in an area that is actually relevant, and it's going to, strategically, it's an important area for the school as well. So we're determining what it's important to spend time on, and then coming up with a focusing inquiry, and then start going back to look at the research and talking to experts and other teachers and finding out what's happening, what's worked well to start with, and then thinking, well, what am I going to try, and what else. What might I have to try that hasn't, that's more of an innovation, and then quickly coming back to look at results and feedback and to see how that's going, rather than waiting until the end of the year before you expect to get data, by which time you're certainly over way too late.
Yeah.
So this is great, I think, of taking Dewey's original concepts and really moving on to applying them in the 21st century. And
And actually, so we can't take credit for the model. We won't, but that's...
No, but you're using it, which is good.
The idea is really, this is Aberdeen Senior High. You've been up
they're very good idea, great idea.
Yeah, they're one, yeah. So that's...
Senior High, that's what I mentioned to you, that we're hopefully visiting on Wednesday.
Right.
Oh, brilliant.
Eh?
Wonderful place. I will love it. It's probably...
Great model.
Favourite.
Same marketing to the school, isn't it?
No, it's been several times. We came a couple of times last week. This is... I'm jumping around here. So this is Rocky with the learning qualities.
Right.
And you know, this is the language that we mentioned before that kids are utilising to start talking about the learning. Something we know also that if you value it, then it's worth reporting on. It's worth sharing that information with. So we developed a progression, if you like. Which
Oh
is,
wow! Look at that.
And we've got all this. We can share this stuff.
This is great.
So essentially, going from from no understanding through a shallow, deep, and profound level of understanding. And so when you start, and we know when when you've got a register of language, initially kids will sort of parrot it back to you, if you like.
Well, that's the first
and that's
level.
fine.
Yeah.
But then after a while,
We usually
now you
think
get
that's enough.
Yeah,
That's
now
the
you
problem.
get into a much deeper
Right.
level of understanding of what it is. So this becomes part of our reporting to our board of trustees and to our parents. And we're just looking now at how we can develop this, and we need to sort of break it up a little bit more, but we'd like to see an effect size. We'd like to start measuring change over time. And it's like, we're just starting doing one on collaboration as well. And it's really interesting because you go and talk to a year one about collaboration and they say, oh, it's about having friends and being nice to people. And then it sort of moves it through a sort of you've got to help, you're helping people and you might be doing some of your learning with them. And then by the time you start talking to year 7 and 8, they're starting to talk about the fact that, well, you might, one person's got an idea, the next person builds on it, and then you build on it and you grow an idea. Or the fact that, it's the sum of, it's more than the sum of parts. So the fact that you might, you've got 3 people who are working on an idea or on a problem or something, and none of them could actually do it on their own, but what the 3 people could actually do together is much greater than what any of those people could do on their own. So
this is great, because I'm a great fan of the International Baccalaureate Primary Years program, but this actually takes that a stage further as well.
Oh, that's interesting. This has really helped us understand what that progress looks like and what that progression looks like, and as I said, we're still still building on it.
You're willing to share this with other people?
Yeah.
Well, see, most people think, franchise, I'm going to have to pay to get a copy of that.
They can pay for it. Just in money. I'm trying to think what else.
Because I know somebody who he's going to want to translate this for Spanish. If you haven't translated it yet, he can at least offer that to you.
We've got,
My friend Mario will be contacting you.